Welcome to Biography.
They seemed a little overawed as Collins entered to a hero's welcome, dressed in his beloved Celtic shirt, happy to be in Scotland. And then a big shock, for the challenger was way off the 12-stone limit.
11 stone, 7-4. 11 stone, 7 pounds, 4 ounces for the challenger, Craig Cummings.
In stark contrast, when Collins stepped onto the scales, he was right on key.
11, 13, 12. 11, 13, 12 for the champion.
We just had the weigh-in. You're at 11.7. I mean, that's a big difference.
I'm comfortable where I'm at. You know, I haven't tried to starve and I haven't tried to put on weight. I weigh what I weigh and I fight as hard as I can. And I always put my whole heart into it.
Cummings is used to danger. He's also a fireman in Kansas and once tackled a blaze 24 hours before a fight.
I'd lost a bunch of weight. I went down to 154 pounds on that one, and I was dehydrated. I had smoke inhalation. Luckily, I won the fight. I got the guy out of there in the 3rd round.
But the battle here will be his hardest ever, for this is the Celtic Warriors show.
He had a mystique, you know, to where he's the baddest man on the planet at 168 pounds, and we sat at the same table yesterday and breathed the same air, and you know, I realize he's a man just like I am, and anything can happen.
And how motivated is the champion with no big name in the opposite corner? Any thoughts of future unification fights must be put aside.
Every fight's a world title fight regardless of who you fight, and the day you start taking chances and taking the opponent easy is the day you lose. So no, I've worked as hard as I could for this fight, and I'm ready.
So too are the Irish fan club. They've been making the most of their weekend here, and Collins is determined not to spoil the party.
I'm going to go out and take care of business and show why I am the #1 super middleweight in the world, and I'm just going to dispatch this guy in the best possible way.
Steve Collins.
Well, somewhere amid the flashing lights, Steve Collins is on his way for his latest title defense. The music of the chieftains swells in the background. This is the entry music he's used ever since he ripped the title away from Chris Eubank. Tell you, Steve Collins is a Dubliner for whom Glasgow has become a sort of adopted city in the build-up to this fight. I think you'll find he might be wearing a kilt in the ring tonight. We've seen him at Celtic shirts, at press conferences and at the weigh-in. His wife Gemma is there as always. This really is a man of steel. And you've heard what he says about the problem with motivation for tonight's task. He says, I don't treat anybody lightly. I've worked too long to get where I am to give it up easily.
Yes, and he wanted to see what sort of reception he'd have here. He was very excited about it, I must say. It's tremendous. Almost everybody to a man is on their feet to the entrance of Steve Collins.
Even the Rangers fans. Well, maybe, anyway. There's the tail of the tape. Collins is 32. He's 3 years older than his challenger here. Same height. Reach, slight advantage for Collins. Look at Cummings' weight. That's the interesting thing here. He's giving away nearly half a stone to a big, strong super middleweight like Steve Collins. He says that's his comfortable weight, but how big a factor is that? Pretty big, I would say. Fight statistics. Well, Steve Collins has only lost 3 times, and every time at world level. He's boxed a lot more rounds, he's mixed in a higher league, and Cummings really is coming off the club circuit into world class. Mandatory 8 count, no standing 8. The 3 knockdown rule is in effect. Only the ref can stop the fight. The bell will save a fighter only in the last round if he's on the floor. Otherwise, the count continues. That's what they're fighting for. The Super Middleweight Championship of the World, as recognized by the World Boxing Organization.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Frank Warren and Sports Network Europe, in association with Alec and Catherine Morrison, along with sponsor John Walker, present 12 rounds of boxing for the WBO Super Middleweight Championship of the World. This bout is sanctioned by the British Boxing Board of Control. Supervisor Simon Block, Scottish Representative Brian McAllister, and the World Boxing Organization, President Francisco Barcarcel, Supervisor at ringside tonight, Vice President Mr. Gene Glenn. Your timekeeper at the bell is Jim Russell. The 3 judges assigned, scoring the bout on a 10-point must system, will be Paul Thomas, Mickey Van, and Roberto Ramirez. And when the bell rings, your referee in charge of the action, Mr. Roy Francis. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, from the fantastic city of Glasgow, Scotland, let's get ready to rumble! In the red corner, wearing red trimmed with the stars and bars, his weight, 11 stone, 7 pound, 1/4 ounce. His professional record, an outstanding 36 bouts with 34 victories, including 28 wins by knockout with only 2 defeats. Fighting out of Kansas City, Missouri, USA, here is the number 6 ranked WBO challenger in the world, Craig Kidfire Cummings. And across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing plaid and weighing in at 11 stone, 13 pound, 3/4 ounce. His professional record, an excellent 38 bouts, 35 victories, including 20 by knockout, with only 3 defeats, and he has captured 2 world titles. Ladies and gentlemen, from Dublin, Ireland, defending for the 7th time, presenting the 2-time world champion and defending WBO Super Middleweight Champion of the World, the Celtic Warrior, Steve Collins.
Shake hands.
Voice of Roy Francis, the experienced referee. Steve Collins, massive support for him here in Glasgow, where the atmosphere is quite wonderful, I must say. He's such a likeable, articulate man out of the ring, Steve Collins. When he gets in there, he looks like a one-man commando unit.
He really does. They said there may be problems with motivation. It doesn't look like it at this point. He certainly looks motivated.
Due to go 12 rounds, can Craig Cummings cope with the rough, tough, strong, gritty style of Steve Collins? Well, he's got Collins over. What about that for a start? Steve Collins is floored for only the third time in his career in that exchange, and Craig Cummings can suddenly smell a sensation. He lets go another left hand, then another right. What about this in the first round? Steve Collins is absolutely stunned. So is the crowd. So's Glenn McCrory alongside me.
It was unbelievable. It looked as if Craig Cummings was stunned by what he'd done. But a ferocious start from Cummings. Some good punching combinations to put Collins over.
Must have happened in the first quarter of a minute or so. They both came out letting the punches fly, and Cummings hit the jackpot. Well, what a shock that is for Steve Collins, but he really normally is so resilient. The last man to put him down was Chris Eubank in their first fight. And the only other man was Kevin Watts. That's in his whole career. It happened after 12 seconds, we're told. Collins seems to have recovered his composure.
Yes, he's got to get his boxing back together. Cummings looks to be a nice, sharp boxer. Using the jab quite well. He's putting it out nice and snappy. And Collins has just got to get his rhythm back together and start getting his own jab going a little bit.
Oh, two good shots going in there from Collins. The left followed by the right, both to the head. Cummings seems to have a bit of a mark underneath the right eye, and a right hand decks him. They've both been down in the opening round. Cummings is up quickly, maybe too quickly at about 2. He'll take a mandatory 8. There is no shortage of action in this first round. And down goes Collins again. This time it is not a knockdown. This time it is a slip. Well, it's a bit on the sensational side, this opening round.
It really is. That was a good knockdown from Collins, who was starting to get his jab and then got a combination behind it. He's got to build on that and not be too reckless.
He knows that this Cummings obviously has a bit of power. He's got a pretty good knockout ratio in his record, Cummings. It has been at a lower level. And another right hand has hurt Cummings there. He wants to hold on. Have to tell you that the one time he went into world-class Cummings, he really rocked Aaron Davis, the WBA welterweight champion. That happened in the first round before he got beaten. Now we'll try to unravel the events of that opening round again for you in chronological order. This is what happened after 12 seconds.
He just rushed out a little bit open, Collins. You see the hands are down, just getting a little scramble. It wasn't really that clean a punch that did that, but over he went, and he had to take account for that. You see, just caught on the top of the head there by the left hook. A punch did land, but I don't think he was that badly hurt.
And then, this is a great punch that Collins produces.
Yes, this was a lot more convincing. That was a good, solid right hand. He went down heavily from that. Cummings really landed flush on the chin there. Got all his weight behind it, but he was up very quickly, Cummings, and managed to get through the end of the round.
Enough action in the opening 3 minutes to fill most 12-rounders. Here's the second round. Steve Collins in the kilt for tonight's appearance in Scotland. Craig Cummings, the Kansas City fireman.
Holmes again trying to let go of the left right. Now was a good right hand.
He's finding the gap for that punch, and then there was a left to the body as well. This may not last long, but it could be explosive while it does, and Cummings is hurt again. His legs looked unsteady. Collins these days treats his fights like guerrilla warfare.
Collins is now looking strong, with Cummings just looking a little bit disorganized by the onslaught from Collins.
And Cummings is taking a massive jump up. He's caught by the left hook this time. You certainly couldn't accuse him of coming in here and being nervous and negative, Cummings. He's again leaves himself open to a right hand, making mistakes, those rights. He's going to pay for that. The left glove is low. He's being hit by a lot of those, and he wants to hold on. He wants to buy time. He's experienced enough for that. Roy Francis takes a slightly closer look at him.
Collins' fight plan was to box. He's just getting involved too much in Collins' type of fight, and this is certainly suiting Collins now, who's got that extra strength.
And poundage, remember, coming in here, well, according to the weigh-in stats anyway, half a stone heavier. It may be even heavier as they come into the ring, because remember the weigh-in was last night. Collins can't miss at the moment with that right hand. He can't carry on taking these, Craig Cummings.
Well, Cummings certainly proven one thing. He's not afraid to have a fight with somebody as good as Steve Collins.
Gutsy, isn't he?
Very, very gutsy.
This man has been a hero of a few fire escapades in Kansas City. Even fighting one night with smoke in his lungs and dehydrated from his firefighting. Again, he was rocked by a left hook. Now the right hand goes in. Collins unleashing these punches now.
He was hurt by a good left right there. Cummings just stuck to the spot for a second.
And down he goes this time. And I think it was just the weight of a few punches. Or was it just a slip? I wondered for a moment whether he was just taking some respite, but not counted as a knockdown, that one. But he took a lot in that round, Cummings. And suddenly the reality of being in with Steve Collins after that amazing start where he had Steve Collins on the floor, the reality is setting in for Cummings.
Yes, he's very brave, Cummings, but I don't think bravery is going to be quite enough. He's standing too much. He's trying to have a fight with Collins. He's falling into the trap that obviously Collins wants, and he's just starting to get hurt by these punches. He's got to somehow try and get back to his boxing. You see, just getting a little bit untidy there, but Collins landing some good punches. The right hand just fell a little bit short, but that second right landed flush. Collins really loading up to let these punches go, and Cummings doing well to get through that round.
Third round, Steve Collins starting this fight with the Glasgow bookmakers anyway as a 16-1 on favourite, almost unbackable. Cummings quoted at 7-1. My, the bookmakers are generous, aren't they? Collins wants the stoppage, you can tell here. He's really setting himself for these shots. Now the left hand, then a right. And he's showing some resilience here, Cummings. But how many more of these can he take? And now he's got damage under the left eye. Cummings has got a bruise, swelling coming up underneath his left eye. And he's too easy to hit. And Collins is such a good technician that he'll make him pay for this, you feel sure. But then Cummings comes back with his own left hook, and that made Collins stand off for a moment. Could this American still conceivably be dangerous?
Well, he's very, very gutsy. He's took an awful lot of punches in this round. The referee having a very good look at him there. He's so brave, but he'd do better to try and box, get behind the jab, and just try and get in the fight a little bit. Again, he lands with a good left hook.
Collins is getting through to him here. The referee wants to step in, and he's called it off. It is over in the third round. It stopped. Steve Collins retains his title after a scare in the opening 12 seconds when he was on the floor. He's still the champ. Gemma, his wife there, celebrating. It's another night of glory for Steve Collins against an opponent who showed tremendous guts in there and really wanted an argument with him, but, well...
You missed my card, Steve. No pass, Steve. No official card. You caught me sleeping that first round. No, the big punch has never done that. You fucking...
Well, Steve Collins is there giving him words of encouragement. He's saying, you caught me fair and square in that first round. A lot of big punches haven't done that.
Well, he certainly did. He must have given Collins a bit of a shock to find himself in the opening 12 seconds on his back. And, you know, he was obviously shook up a little bit by that first sort of combination from Cummings, but he did well, established his authority back in the fight, hurt Cummings time and time again, and I think Roy Francis, very good stoppage there. Cummings had been hurt by a lot of good punches. He was very brave, very resilient, stood up to a fierce attack from Collins. But he's getting hurt now. You see all the fight has got out of him. I thought the referee did a really good job. Where he would have just been badly hurt if Collins was let to unleash more punishment to him.
And now we have a real old sing-song going around the arena as you're watching the replay. It became an unrelenting attack. Collins could not miss with the punches. There was no way back really for Craig Cummings, and Roy Francis steps in to rescue him. And there were no complaints from the American camp, it has to be said. 7 defenses of the title now for Collins, and he'll be looking for a really big payday with the likes of a Roy Jones or a Frankie Lyles. Maybe even Robin Reid, our other British champion at this weight. Fights the fans want to see. Whether they can be engineered or not is another matter. But after that scare, Steve Collins, it was business as usual in the end. What a hard man this is.
He really is. He was motivated, Steve Collins, but didn't he have to be so? This was a tough man. He realized it was a big chance for him. He sort of met fire with fire, and he came off best in the first 12 seconds, and that must have been a shock to Steve Collins. But he showed his character, he showed how strong he is, and it was just a matter of time before he gradually wore this Craig Cummings down in good fashion, and I thought that was a good result for Collins. He showed himself to be championship quality.
Michael Buffett, due to give us the official announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Roy Francis calls this bout to a halt. The official time, 1 minute, 17 seconds into round number 3. The winner by knockout victory and still WBO super middleweight champion of the world, the Celtic Warrior, Steve Collins. And a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for this young man who came to us as a challenger with his fists ready and began a great first round. Let's hear it for Craig Cummings.
Well, here he is, Steve Collins. He's still world champion, but that was a nasty scare. We timed it at 12 seconds, and you were on the floor. What happened?
Well, the guy came here with a record with a lot of knockouts. People said he could punch. I said, well, I don't think so. I went out, I underestimated his power. The guy hit very hard. I mean, I've been in there with Ben, been in there with Eubank, been in there with the big punches. This kid hit as hard, if not harder than these guys. But he surprised me. He was faster and harder punches than I expected, and he caught me napping. You know, and that's the thing about this business. Never underestimate your opponent. If I'd have listened to the public in the crowd, I'd have went in there and I could have lost my title. I respected him, and I actually respect him more now after the fight than I did before the fight. I've learned the hard way.
How worried were you at that stage? You were actually on the floor. Were you thinking, hello, what have I got here?
I wasn't actually worried. I thought it was a bit funny because it's unusual for me to get caught square and to go down. And it's nice to see the other side of the fence for a change, but that's when you have to dig down deep and come back. That's what makes championship fighters. And I came back, and the result is I stopped them in 3 rounds.
These are always difficult nights for fighters like you. It's a bit of a hiding to nothing. People are saying it's a routine defence for you, but it never quite works out that way, does it?
No more routine defences for me, if that's what's called a routine defence. That kid had a lot of speed, and believe me, he had a lot of power. He hit very hard.
Now, what's the future for you? Are you going to carry on at super middleweight? Because that's a bit of a problem for you, isn't it, making the weight limit these days?
I work hard to make the weight. I mean, every super middleweight I climb in beside in the ring looks smaller than me. I need more I need something to get me up. I need the big fights, like the Eubanks, like the Benz. I need more of them. I need the unification bouts. I need title fights at other weights. Otherwise, I'll get caught in a lull. I'll get caught sleeping. And guys like this could take away what I work so hard to earn. I want the guys who threaten me, who put the pressure on me, who scare me, and then you see me at my best.
Who scares you? Who do you want?
Who scares me? God.
But which fight? I mean, people mention all kinds of fights for you. They talk about Robin Reed, they talk about Roy Jones, Frankie Lyles. I mean, the list seems to be endless. Who would you want to fight in an ideal world?
You know, I've always wanted to make records, break records, do the unexpected. I would love to move up and fight Dario Maciejewski, or however you pronounce it, for the light heavyweight title. It's a new division. It's 2 titles at stake.
This is the guy that's just beaten Virgil Hill, of course.
Yeah, beat Virgil Hill for 3 titles. That appeals to me. There's a couple of fights that appeal to me. We sit down, I'll talk to Frank. I'll put the pressure on him as per usual. But so far, he's come up trumps.
Well, here is Frank Warren, the man with the finger on the purse strings, as it were. Frank, how do you see Steve's future at this point?
Well, obviously, Steve goes on from strength to strength. It's we talk about Roy Jones. Roy Jones is not a super middleweight anyway. He now fights at light heavyweight. And Frankie Lyles has got a very tough fight coming up next month. But I think after that, we'd like to see Steve in, certainly with Frankie Lyles. But the WBO have stated that the mandatory is due. So again, we're stuck in these mandatory defences. Now we've got to try and overcome that and hopefully make the Frankie Lyles match, because I'm sure that's the fight that Steve wants and everybody likes to see.
Because you can see the problem. I mean, Steve's just said it himself. I mean, one of these nights, I suppose the problem is that a lack of motivation, in a complacency, could end up costing him his title. I mean, he's the perfect pro. He always does it. But you know what he's saying.
For the money he's getting paid, he's motivated. Believe me.
All right. Thank you for both of you.
I just want to take the opportunity to thank the people of Glasgow for the reception they gave me. Thanks very much. I hope to come back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both of you.